So concepts are acquired over the lifespan through a scaffold and in layers. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that a concept, you're never finished learning a concept. Okay? So maybe you know what table is today, but next week somebody comes along and talks to you about tables in a cookbook. Okay? And you want to know the difference between marking that as a table versus a figure according to APA. All right? And tables are not figures, figures are not tables, but those are different, aren't they? It's not the same as a table as in something you put your lunch on, okay? So we're always acquiring more meaning about all of our concepts. And that occurs over the lifespan. It's always adding more features, making more connections, accessing more points within the brain in terms of the networks. Concepts are also acquired always through a scaffold, and that's why they can't be taught. So when you teach products, you have this stair-step thing, okay? I'm going to teach you something about table, and then I'm going to teach you a table and a graph. Then I'm going to teach you table as in Mesa. Then I'm going to teach you how to table a motion, okay? It doesn't work that way. I have to take what I already know, and I have to add to it, so I'm adding these layers over time. And this is how we process that concept of table. It continues, it never stops. So let me ask you a question. Can you have a right or wrong answer? Not really. Not with concepts, you really can't. You can refine your thinking. You can be semantically inaccurate according to a certain standard. You can be at a level of conceptualization like pre-operational, like Susie said a minute ago. You can be at that level without having a higher understanding of a concept. You can understand what I say, but not be able to share it with somebody else, which means you're not really at that pre-operational level. It means that you recognize the input as patterns, but you can't do anything with it. My students often, when they write their essays, and they're about things like learning and development, and some of those is that they'll start out writing, and at the beginning they're making statements that are inaccurate. At the end, they've worked through, they scaffold their thinking, and at the end, it's correct. It's semantically accurate. Okay, so do I mark that wrong? Well, no, because they worked themselves through it. They got to the point they needed to be to understand what they were writing about. Okay, does that make sense? So that means that you're never done with a task in the classroom. You're never finished. The only thing that's ever a slice is when you actually do a test. And a test would be a slice of what your performance is for that particular day on a particular subject, given the way you feel, given the environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? So why are we testing kids all day long? Because that's what we're doing. Every time a kid does something and they turn it into you, that's a test. Because we want to see how they did. Say, why are they not writing about that, drawing about that, refining their thinking, and then why are we not doing a production at the end, where the kids bring the other kids in from another class and they set up some type of museum and they're explaining what their museum is about? Or why don't they do a display? Maybe it's a ant farm. Okay, and they bring in the kids from the other classes, or they invite their parents in, and the parents come in, and the kids take them around and explain to them about what they've learned about ants and how ants build these farms, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why are we not looking for dissemination of their thinking as opposed to the products of their structures? We could do that.